We have two questions, and they come from a reader or viewer, Alex Day, who writes, should shop stewards, or as they are called in my union, which is the Berkeley Federation of Teachers, site representatives, be paid a yearly stipend? What are the pros and cons from a rank and file perspective?
All right. Well, first, let me apologize to Alex. I'm an old man that doesn't know how to use Twitter. So Alex posted this question on Twitter a while ago, and I just got around to seeing it. But I'll start by backing up and talking about what a shop steward is. I'm going to take a little detour, then come back to the question. So you might hear different names for it. Like in my teachers union, we call them building reps. But shop stewards are the main point of contact for the union on the shop floor and in the work site. They are workers just like everyone else. They don't get paid by the union, but they are elected by their fellow workers to represent them against management. And I think shop stewards are the most important people in labor unions. And I'll even go a step further and maybe be a little bit dramatic and think they are one of the most important political positions, period. And I say this because they are the most upfront and intimate representative of the union for workers. If you're in a big union local, you may not often see the president of your local. Staff organizers you may only see on a limited basis. But a shop steward works side by side with you every day and is the first person you should go to with a problem. So shop stewards are in charge of handling grievances. So if your manager violates the contract, maybe it can be as simple as the shop steward has a quick talk with management and the issue is resolved. Or maybe it goes further and the shop steward leads an arbitration with management. Or let's say you decide to take a collective action. You all decide to wear a union sticker or a union button one day. The shop steward should be the person coordinating that. They are crucial in the chain of communication and mobilization within a union. And so it can be very rewarding work. And let's look at what some shop stewards from Teamsters Local 728 talked about what they do.
I mean, it empowers me. It empowers me to help empower others.
Oh, it's so rewarding. It's so rewarding just to know that people have someone they can depend on. Whenever they call me, I always follow through. They don't have to worry about if I'm going to get back to them or not.
And we do whatever we need to do in order to bring humility into the workplace. Whatever is wrong, we use the CBA as our handbook to have it resolved.
They have concerns, or sometimes they just want to vent. They might not even want to do the whole process. They just might want to just talk and get it off their chest.
Well, it makes you feel proud to be a part of something that's quite as big as the International Brotherhood of Teamsters.
I love it. It makes me feel good because my gift as a human being is to help people.
It makes me feel good, especially when I give somebody a member my number and they call me, they text me and they tell me thank you.
Absolutely awesome. It gives me a sense of purpose.
Empowered makes me feel good to see people have less stress in the way they do their job.
Oh, I love it. I love helping people out. I love what I do.
I am empowered because I am a Teamster, and I'm so thankful.
It's the most rewarding job that you ever can have.
It's my passion to help people, whether on or off the job. I'm excited to be able to help my peers.
So it makes me feel good to be a Teamster and also a steward.
So let's go back to the question. Should shop stewards get paid an extra stipend for it? I think it's an interesting question. On the one hand, you could say it is a lot of extra work, and anyone that is a good shop steward knows that they put in a lot of extra work, and they should be compensated for their labor. But I actually may lean towards no, that they shouldn't necessarily get paid an extra stipend. You want people running for shop steward who care the most about building the union and representing their fellow coworkers. You don't want it to turn into something where people want to grab the position and hold on to it for material comfort and privileges. And now some people might hear that and think, well, what about union presidents and officials? Should they get paid extra? And I think that kind of opens up another can of worms. I think there are some union leaders that definitely have a bloated outsized salary, especially when compared to how much the workers they represent make. Sometimes, though much less often than the media wants you to believe, that kind of thing can lead to corruption and stagnant bureaucracy. But having said that, there probably are some locals out there that might pay shop stewards a stipend. I don't think that would be the end of the world. I don't think that would inherently mean a bad thing happen. But I might lean towards thinking that, shop stewards should be doing this on a voluntary basis. But if you are watching and you are in a union, you should consider running to be a shop steward. It's incredibly important and rewarding work, just like the people in those video were saying. And it's probably the most important work anyone on the left can be doing right now. Or if you just join the union, try to find out who your shop steward is and talk to them. And I think we have a follow-up question that is closely related by the same person. We want to throw that one up. Oh, I think Jen's on mute.
Sorry about that, guys. I just wanted to say before we get to the next question that I just really liked watching that video of people talking about how proud they are to be shop stewards. And it made me think that's what bosses wish customer service representatives would be like. I just really love helping people, but obviously you're not going to get that level of actual I don't know, commitment and pride from something that your boss is forcing you to do. That can only come from being a shop steward. So I echo what you said. If you are in a union, look into being a shop steward. All right, so sorry. For the second part of the question, the same person asks, follow up, what are the pros and cons from a rank and file perspective on full-time versus part-time paid organizers? By part-time, I mean that an educator might get a partial release from 25% to 50% of their duty day to do paid organizing for their local.
This is another good question. So, all unions need some full-time staff organizers, whether it's for organizing a new workplace or representing current members. There's just too much work to be done overall to rely just on part-time people. But having said that, I absolutely think that if unions can do it, they should release current union members part-time to do organizing work. Because often these workers are more effective than the staff organizers, even if the staff organizer is great. They intimately know the job and the workers. So workers sometimes trust them more than a random staff organizer that might come out of a university. And often there are a lot of little details about problems in the workplace that an actual worker will know. So for example, we can all know that teachers would like to get paid more, but actual teachers will know that sometimes our coworkers get more fired up about things like class size or about having functioning copy machines or having enough time to pee. Sometimes those are the real issues that might be the better basis to start organizing on. And a worker will know that and probably better than anyone else. So I think part-time release worker organizers help members see the union as something that they are a part of, not as something that's apart from them. Because often, we try to say in the labor movement, you are the union. Many workers, and sometimes they have good reasons for doing this, they talk about the union as an other, well, the union will do this, will do that, and not really thinking about themselves as being the core part of the union. The Communication Workers of America is a great example of a union that does this. We recently had on Les Leopold, who spoke about the Runaway Inequality Political Education Training Program, and they use workers to do that training. And these workers get, release time from their job to be organizers and to do these trainings. So instead of some professor coming and talking about these challenging issues, it's better to have people the workers know and can relate to better doing it. So in conclusion, yes, I think, we do need full-time staff organizers, but I think when unions can do it, workers should absolutely be released to do part-time organizing as well.
I guess I want to follow that up by asking, do you think that there are certain qualities that make someone better suited to be a shop steward or an organizer? And I ask that not because I don't think that anyone could do it if, they felt inclined to do it, but those are hard jobs. And I mean, when you, even just watching the video of the people talking about how much they enjoy being shop stewards, you have to really like people. I think that you have to like being kind of a broker or like a problem solver. I'm sorry, these are like businessy terms. And I feel uncomfortable using them about like unions. But I guess what I'm saying is like some people are sort of, I think, have a kind of natural aptitude for the work of organizing. And again, this is not to say that everybody can't do it. But I'm just wondering, from your perspective, like I think actually Jane McAlevey has a term for it in a labor setting or in the workplace. There are some people who I think she calls organic leaders. And I actually don't know if she says that these are the best people to be shop stewards. Like they might be suited for other things. And we'll get her back on at some point to clarify. But here and now, what do you think are the qualities that, like, I don't know, people should be looking out for?
Yeah, that's a good point. And maybe I should amend what I say. Not necessarily everyone just go out and be a shop steward. You know, I think you should really want to do it. But I think definitely what you said, like wanting to like people, have some leadership qualities, liking to solve problems or help people out. You know, you don't necessarily have to be the loudest person in the room. And I think one of the things Jane talks about with organic leaders or real leaders, and it might kind of sound paradoxical, but often these people are very good workers. And it might sound like, oh, wait, you know, it doesn't mean you're a suck up to the boss, but like, you know, workers on the job, respect them. You know, they look up to them. They do their job well. I think those people are well suited to be shop stewards or in some kind of leadership position because they have respect of people around them. You know, it's not, some people might assume like the person that complains the most is actually usually not the leader, and they actually might be quite unpopular with their coworkers. You know, I think anyone who's worked a job can relate to that. So I think those are some of the qualities. And I think a lot of times Jane talks about it in the context of like a new organizing drive when you don't quite have a union yet, identifying the leader. But you know, we should have her on. But I think those same people would do very well in the position of shop steward.
Yeah. It's funny that you mentioned the kind of anecdote about like the loudest person or like the most like confrontational person in the room or in the workplace, because a few years ago when the kind of like media unionizing like I don't know, sort of like energy was starting to bubble up. I just went to a kind of like general, I wasn't working in media at the time, but, you know, I was interested in what was going on. So I went to a kind of general meeting where a union rep was talking to different media workers about like how they could start unionizing. And she was like, so if you think about your workplace, obviously in the early stages of an organizing campaign, like things are very, like you have to keep things like pretty secret, you know, like you really have to start, you don't want the bosses catching wind of the fact that you're trying to organize. So she was like, the union rep was like, so who is the person that you would want to bring into your campaign early on? Is it the person who, you know, keeps their head down and just like does good work and, you know, doesn't make waves in the office? Or is it the person who's like who like complains a lot and is like always arguing with the boss and is just like super out there and like you just know that they've got problems with the office? And almost every single person chose that person, because I think that in a way it kind of is like, oh well, like they're already fired up about like workplace issues. But this is all just to underscore that I think, you know, sometimes it can be a little counterintuitive, or sometimes the qualities that make a good shop steward or a good organizer in the early stages of a campaign are not actually the same as the person who is like the loudest on the picket line or like who's a good rabble rouser, who might be great in a different context.